And welcome back to her Empire Builder show. Today I have an absolute firecracker of a human, my beautiful friend, Jill Stanton. If you have been in the online space for a while, chances are you have come across Jill's magnetic energy, her no BS approach, and her genius around building businesses that feel as good as they look on paper. In this episode, we're going deep on how to scale without the hustle, how to sell with integrity and confidence, and how to create offers that people cannot wait to buy, all while living life on your terms. Jill is sharing her unfiltered insights on messaging, mindset, and what it really takes to create a business that gives you freedom and not just revenue. It's honest, it's powerful, and my friends, it's the pep talk you didn't know you needed. Let's go. My fabulous friend, Jill Stanton, welcome.
So happy to be here with you. Sorry, I'm just laughing at our behind the scenes shenanigans.
We're laughing because we hit record like 2 minutes ago, which was great that it was 2 minutes ago. And then Jill's little boy just woke up and came in for morning cuddle. Okay, let's do over. Let's go again. I mean,
we're definitely not saying no to that. Yeah.
I know. And there's not many people that would be listening that wouldn't crave the morning cuddles that you get from your little people. They're just the
absolutely best. Especially because now he's like, I'm too old for kisses. And I'm like, no. So the fact that he just came in and let me give him kisses is like, so I'm like, Tina, pause it.
Yeah. I mean, my sons are 17 and 15 and they still give me the kisses. Only now it's super weird. They're so tall. They kiss me on the top of the head.
Because you're tiny.
I am very short. They're like a foot taller than me. And yeah, it does it. It's kind of patronizing, but also really sweet.
Yeah. Your boys are so sweet.
Oh,
they're such
anyway,
heartbreakers.
Let's get into you. So you have, over the last 20 years, built multiple businesses, and you've lived such an unconventional life, less ordinary. Like, you're a poster child for living life on your own terms, way before it was cool to live life on your own terms.
It's true.
Yeah. So tell us about the evolution from like screw the 9 to 5 to what you're doing now.
Yeah. So I always struggle to like make this a succinct process. I'm like,
it's not. It's like the rise, the fall, the jump around.
Yeah. I'm like, so back in 2006. But it's true. Like, that's when it all started for me, the days of MySpace. And I just always knew I was never going to get a traditional job, much to my parents' dismay. Like, my mom would call me just like so upset, being like, please, Jill, please just get a job. And I'd be like, no. So
why did she think it just for safety reason?
I don't know. Just because she's taken such a conventional path. She was a teacher. My dad was a principal. You know, my sister was on that trajectory to like get a career and a house and kids and blah, blah, blah. And to me, that just felt like suffocation. Like, I was just like, no, that is not for me. So even though that's frustrating at the time, it's like, it led me here. So I started my first ever thing back in 2006, like before I started a web TV show. Now, again, this is the days of MySpace and Friendster. So just FYI.
I mean, I started our first website in 2005 and that was a big deal. So to start web TV is like,
it was way ahead of its time.
Yeah. Way ahead.
Like, no one was sponsoring that kind of thing. There was no influencers. There were no like real content creators. Maybe like, I don't know, maybe the early days of podcasts or something like that. But anyway, so that I had that for like 2 years and amassed like 1 million views on that, which was wild. And thank God it was when you could erase stuff off the internet, because it was all about dating, sex, and relationships. And I was in my 20s and I was very single. So I was very transparent on that show. So thank God that doesn't exist anymore. I've tried to check to make sure no one can find it. So you can't find it. So good. Yeah. So I can say that now. And so then just through a sequence of events, I met my husband, and he had a software company at the time. And he really opened up my eyes to entrepreneurship. I think I just didn't know about entrepreneurship, which sounds crazy to even say, simply because I didn't have anyone in my life who was an entrepreneur, like 0 people. And so I didn't even really know about it. And then I meet Josh, and he's like an online entrepreneur. And I was just like, what is this wild world? And he's Australian, but he's living in China, and he's like traveling the world. And I was like, what? He's also like 4 and a bit years younger than me. So I was just like, who is this like cocky early 20 something? And like, why is he so hot? And so he really opened up my eyes to it. And so him and I started our first ever company together, our first ever business together in like late 2011 when we were each getting disenchanted with our chosen paths.
Yeah.
And at the time he was like, I think we should start an affiliate site. And I was like, done, I'm in. What's an affiliate site? Like, I was just like so green to it. So he really taught me the ropes. Like it really was him showing me like, this is an email list. This is what you do. Like I didn't even have any of that for 20 something. It was really just like, we had YouTube.
Yeah.
And a Facebook page. Like I didn't even know about email lists and stuff like that. So, anywho, so we started that and then that evolved into just people asking us, like, we started traveling more and we started like living our best lives and people were like, how are you doing this? And so that really gave us the idea for Screw the 9 to 5. It was actually on our wedding week that we had the idea, which is probably the one week you're not supposed to work. But we just couldn't turn it off at that time. We were so lit up by what we were doing.
Inspired. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just came through so strongly. And so that was like a 10 plus year journey for us. And that really just shaped our trajectory. Like it taught us so many lessons, built so many skills with it, built so much like experience and wisdom through it, and really cut our teeth with teaching and coaching and facilitating communities and running events. And then I just started to feel a pull in like 2019 where I was just like, I want to do my own thing. But it's sad to say, but it's the truth, is like, I just concretely did not believe I was smart. Like I had such a foundational belief growing up that I wasn't smart. I was like the entertaining one. I was the pretty one. I used to model and I was doing like commercials and all that kind of stuff. And so I had this ingrained identity that I was the entertaining one and my sister was the smart one. Right. And like my parents never meant to give us those labels, but they did. So I just grew up believing that. And so everything inside me was like full of resistance for starting my own thing, but I could not shake it. It was like a full splinter kit for me. I knew it was my move. This was March 2019. I had the instant download to start Millionaire Girls Club. And like now in hindsight, thank God I didn't start it because 2020 happened and I would have lost my whole retreat and all the cash, I'm sure, and had to do refunds and whatnot. Like I know people who were running events during that time and it just was terrible to navigate. And so it had to happen the way it did. So I started in 2021, which is when you came into my world to start coaching, and then transitioned into retreats. And then I kind of had one of those moments again in like April to June 2024, where I just was in like this void of being like, why doesn't this feel like the move for me anymore? Like it was very confusing for me and very like murky and like stressful because I was like, wait, I love MGC. Like, why is this feeling so off? And like, this was my thing and it's my wheelhouse and I love it and blah, blah, blah. And so that was like a 2-month void where I was just trying to find my feet again and just figure out like, what is it? But I just felt this like strong calling to keep talking about and coaching on what I already supported so many of those women with anyways, which was all things like identity and personal power and emotional intelligence and leadership and communication and all of that kind of stuff. So I finally gave myself the permission to really go for it in August. And so here we're in the third chapter, guys.
Yeah. Well, at least, but you know, with each of the things that you've been in, they've been working well at the time that you've moved on. Like you could have stayed and just made a lot more money. And I know that a lot of people end up in that situation, mostly when they're in like corporate jobs or, you know, they've got this service-based business and they're feeling the pull to go into that next adventure. And it can be a hard thing to leave the security and leave something that you know that's working and then go into the unknown. You said you were nervous about doing it, but how did you get the like courage to take the leap and leave something that you know is like pretty much a sure thing?
Courage is literally my number one personal virtue. I value it above all else. And so look, I really wish I didn't operate this way.
It'd make life a lot easier and calmer.
Guys, I really wish I could settle for things that don't feel aligned for me. But I am a manifestor and an Enneagram 8. And so that's just not my path, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I'll say. Because of that, I create absolute magic in my life. And I'm proud of myself. And I think often, like, I've gotten this question quite a bit, truthfully, like, especially when we decided to make some big changes and screw the 9 to 5. We had a monthly membership community that was rocking and rolling. It was like a big thing that put us on the map in that season of our life. And it was making a huge part of our revenue. And we decided to shut it down because it was just no longer aligned with what we wanted to do. And so many people thought we were losing our minds. And I came to realize it's like, they weren't given the vision for what my life should be. I was. And so I can't really like hinge my moves on what other people might think, although it is truthfully probably one of my biggest like edges that I still have to navigate for myself, is really loosening my vice grip on what people might think or what they might say or what they might believe, because the space can be so small, you know what I mean? And people can have a lot of opinions. And so that's been a big part of my own work. But also, I'm just such a fucking believer in bold decisions in service of alignment. Mm-hmm. And I know my energy, I would wither away and die if I had to do stuff I hated. I just would be such an asshole. Yeah. Like, I really wouldn't be fun to coach with because I can't hide it.
Yeah.
If I'm misaligned with something, I don't want it.
Yeah.
And I trust myself enough and I believe in myself enough to go for it and detach from what I think my journey must look like in order to find the one that matches me.
Yeah.
And so has it always been
we're
easy?
into the third chapter now. What is the current vision?
So it's funny because I was just saying to you before we started filming is like, I was so excited to start my JS brand. Like, I knew that this was my move. I knew that I finally trusted myself, believed in myself enough, and like really had honed my skills and my talents in the realm of coaching and being the little activator that I am. And so I know that I'm being called to this next level. And so I came out of the gate with like, here's all the things I've ever wanted to create.
I love that you always tell people like, keep your office suite really simple. And then you're like, I have 10 offers.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. That was that was screw the 9 to 5 me. And also, if I'm being really real, is like, I think that is very much Josh's model. Is like one thing that leads to one thing that leads to one thing. And as I've gone out in my own way, I've realized like, I actually don't believe it has to be one thing to one thing to one thing. I don't buy that way.
Yeah.
I actually hate buying that way. I love like the people that I buy from like highly frequently always have a plethora of creative, new front-end offers that are low ticket. They lead to some core signature offers. And then there's a high ticket thing that is kind of like an all access pass, which is what I have with Lightyear. And so my vision for what I'm doing is, first, I believe that you can run whatever kind of business you want in whatever style you want. I love the idea of having a bunch of creative low ticket offers that just start to build an audience of customers. Like, I'm such a hardcore believer in, Josh and I call it customer first model, but insert whatever thing you're going to call it, is like building an audience of customers and not freebie seekers. So that's always my biggest focus. So I love being creative on the front end with low ticket offers that allow me to bring customers in and then also keep my existing customers going through new fun experiences that keeps their buying velocity up with me and just keeps them going through my work and familiarizing themselves with me. And then ideally I move them into some of my core signature programs. And then from there, they come into Lightyear, or they just come straight into Lightyear and get everything. So That's my move. Now, I'm also a manifestor in human design. So I am going to do whatever the F I want. And I am going to change my mind probably quite often. Is like, I'm a huge believer in the power of agility and keeping your finger on the pulse and being able to read the room. And so if I'm feeling called to something else, I'm going to do it.
And I love that we can do that so easily in online. Like traditional business, it was really hard to turn the ship when you're doing something. But when you're in online, I think people forget sometimes that we can change our mind at any point and we can do that really, really fast. Yeah.
Yes.
The best.
And I also believe that when your energy isn't aligned with something, it won't sell.
Yes.
And there's literally no point in doing it that way because it just sabotages you. Yeah. So instead, we just develop the like resilience and the courage and the self-trust and the self-belief to be like, I can sell whatever the F I want to sell.
Yeah.
It's like up to me and my creativity. And like, how I want to serve people, and it ticks a box for them. And so that's always at the forefront for me.
Yeah. I know even when I've done launches and everything's been pretty much the same, the only thing it comes down to with performing well or performing mediocre is like my energy was a little off, or my energy was just like firing. And there's no other explanation for it. Like people can, I call it the sparkly bits, can pick up on your sparkly bits and know, like if you're really,
of course you call it that.
Yeah. But you know, like you can see something, you're like, they're saying all the right things and they're doing all the right things, but there's something that's just not, you know.
It's their frequency.
It's a bit off. Yeah. The frequency is sparkly bits, Jill.
Yeah. But it's true. It's like, and so I also think that like when you don't acknowledge that for yourself, that's when things feel stuck.
Yeah.
Because you think you have to keep doing it a certain way because it worked once. And I'm all for refining and going again, for sure.
Yeah.
But you can also be creative in how you promote things.
Yes.
And so that is just like a huge value of mine.
Yeah, mine too. The experiment is fun, although it does kick you in the ass sometimes when you get it wrong and you're
For
like,
sure.
oh, womp womp.
But also, okay, so I'm coming off the back of one of those experiences. Not that it went wrong, it just didn't happen the way I wanted it to. But I also am the type of person who tortures myself with high expectations.
Yes.
So
you're in good company.
Yeah. And I just really, if nothing else, the thing that I'm taking away from it is like, holy shit, does this ever forge our clarity? Like when we go through those moments where we're like, why? Why? I thought it was going to work. I felt it. I was in my vibe. I was in the energy. The offer was great. And then it's those moments that forge the next steps because you're like, okay, let me just think about this for a quick sec. Like, what was off? Was it the messaging? Was it the offer? Was it who? You know what I mean? Like there's so many, I feel as though it helps you deepen your path and your clarity.
I would agree. Now, one thing that I love that you do is have more fun than most people that I know. So talking from experience, and especially when we work together, people can feel like they constantly have to do more, like more content, more launches, more marketing. What is your approach to scaling in a way that keeps it fun and free instead of that stressful angst that we get?
So for the inner game, I think it's really doing the work of like really a couple things. One is deepening your leadership, right? And so like, how willing are you to lead yourself through moments of strong discomfort? And I think, and do it non-circumstantially. I think that's a big thing with entrepreneurs. It's like, it's really easy to lead yourself and show up for your business when it's going well. It's a whole other beast to still carry yourself with the same level of power, emotional awareness, emotional regulation, like commitment, resilience when it's not going well. And I think those are the moments that really forge people, because I think one of the most damaging concepts is that it always has to be more. I want to beat last year's numbers, and I want to beat last quarter, and I need to beat last month, and it needs to be bigger, and it needs to have more engagement, and it needs to be blah, blah, blah. And that can feel like such an emotional mind F for people, because it just has you constantly moving the goalpost. And that just feels miserable. And I mean, I'm going to take my own advice here. It's like, I get caught up in that stuff because it's such a prevalent message and narrative online, especially in our space, is like, we think that our status or our worth depends on how big our launches were, or how well our funnels are going, or how big this is. And it's like, that is a path to misery.
And just like, again, you have this rhetoric all the time, like, if it's not green and growing, you're rotting, you know, like you've got to be growing or you're going to go down. Like that was, I mean, I used to even be in that and go, if I saw someone that wasn't growing or that said, I've got to where I want to go, like I'll just sit here, which is where I am now. If I had seen me now a few years ago, I would have gone, bullshit. She's not growing because she just can't hack it, or she doesn't have the skills, or she doesn't like.
So what changed for you then?
A lot of work.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of work. In going, you know what, I have enough and it's beautiful. Life is beautiful. The balance of everything is beautiful. I get to do good work with good people. I get paid really well for it. And I have it all, I feel like. Yeah. And so why would I want to break that? I don't need more. I mean, if it comes, do it, but I won't sacrifice anything else that I've got now in service of that, which I used to not understand.
Well, and I feel like I watched you in that beautiful transition for yourself where you finally got to admit to yourself what your version of success looks like.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's some of the best work that we can do because it's success on our terms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus like what we think we should do if we want to be relevant in this space. Like, bleh. You know what I mean? Like, cause then you are chasing things. You are only chasing things outside of yourself.
Yeah.
And also that whole thing around being relevant or being successful enough by other people's metrics. It's like, you'll never actually know what they think.
Yeah.
You'll never know for sure what they believe. And I often think that people, the track in their head is how they judge others. And so they think, so for example, oh, they just can't hack it. So then I imagine there was probably something when you went to be like, actually, wait a second. This is success to me. I imagine there would have been at least some moment in there where it would be like, oh my God, what are people going to think of me choosing to
Totally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that messes with people.
Yeah.
Is they project what they think other people might think, say, or believe about them based on how they already feel about themselves.
Yes, completely.
Or how they judge others. And that's the mind F.
Which is, it is more difficult, I think, in our world. Like when we're online and we're showing up and we're seeing examples all the time of different people, but also that, I was talking to a friend about this the other day, in just the amount of commentary that we get. Like in the last year, I've lost a bunch of weight. I've done a lot of different things for my health, and the amount of unsolicited opinions that I will get on things into my DMs that I'm like, people have full opinions of my life on parenting, on the way I look, on what we do. And I don't know if there's that many other industries where people feel like, you know what, I'm just going to tell that person what I think right now.
Imagine going into like your local restaurant and talking to the owner and being like, I saw you at the park with your kids.
Yeah.
And I just feel like blah, blah, blah. Like it made me feel this way.
This color doesn't look good on you, what you're rocking tonight.
Or like, I don't believe in what you believe in. And so you must be the bad one. Like it's just ridiculous. Yeah. But you're right. I also don't think that there's crazy expectations in like offline entrepreneurship, the way that there is like revenue wise, margins wise, like what's possible for you wise. I think that's totally different ball game in online entrepreneurship versus like traditional brick and mortar kind of stuff.
So how do you deal with that level of visibility as you've been stepping more away from where you were not behind the scenes, but you were like with Josh into stepping into your spotlight in such a big way?
On one hand, I was like, this is what we should have been doing all along because Josh never wanted to be the guy, like literally never wanted to be the guy. And I very much wanted to be the guy. And I think I minimized that for myself of being like, I just honestly think I was my own worst critic, truthfully. And I just really had a lot of stuff to work through for myself. And I was talking to Sydney, my coach, who you and I were talking about, who Amy had on her podcast. And I was saying, it's so funny because doing this inner work is so critical in your life. And also there are days where I wish I could go back to like completely oblivious Jill in 2016, 2017, being like just operating out of all her triggers, but just unaware of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And just thinking she's the shit no matter what.
Yes.
And now I'm hyper aware of everything and like beliefs at play and triggers at play and like my own judgments and how I feel about things and like what feels aligned to me. And it's just like, it's added layers of like it's mental and emotional awareness. Thinking. Yes.
Yeah.
And it can be, especially when you're coming into like, I honestly think I've been repeating this to myself over and over as I'm in like this new phase of my own growth is just like, I believe I'm on the edge. The reason this feels uncomfortable to me is because I'm at the edge of my current identity.
Yeah.
And so you can only grow, you can only expand your capacity, you can only expand all the good things to the level at which you're willing to lead yourself and the level to which you believe is possible for yourself, like the possibilities you see for yourself, the stories you hold about yourself, how much discomfort you allow yourself to navigate while still like creating internal safety. And so I feel like I went off on a tangent there and can't remember where I was going, but like
visibility and you stepping into visibility,
visibility, yeah.
which is perfect.
So it's just been a process of like creating safety for myself, truly, is like, because I had a big experience growing up for a good solid 10 years with just like really isolating, humiliating experiences with women. And so I've had a lot of that come up in bigger ways than I expected over the last 6 months. And so really just, again, creating safety for myself, like regulating my nervous system and like reminding myself of the calling that I feel and how much I love doing what I do, and allowing myself to just like hold that more and just allow it to flow through and realize like, it's all good. I can handle this. Like I always find a way to win. And so I've got
And
this.
that's come up more in the last 6 months because you've stepped up your visibility. Yeah. Which I think
also
relate with.
For sure. And also like when I was making the decision to move away from MGC, not in the sense of like, I'll never do MGC again. I absolutely know I'm going to have MGC again, just not in the way of it. I run an events-based business because I live in Thailand.
Yeah.
Literally
a long way.
The worst place to run an events business from.
Unless
like,
you were running events in Thailand.
Of course. And that is my like light year this year. We have our event in Thailand, but also it's just like to run a global company from an events, like a global events company. It's a bitch of a travel experience.
Yeah.
And so it just was a lot. And I just wasn't loving some key pieces of it. So I'll still have MGC, just like I'm going to have Her First Million, which was my idea from MGC. I'm just finding new ways to bring it to life in a way that matches my alignment now versus everything felt forced in some capacity for me over the last year of MGC. And that was really presenting me some hiccups. And so giving myself the permission to yet again be seen going through another transition, like that feels raw and it can feel really like, oh God.
Yeah.
And also I love talking about this stuff. Like I love the work and teaching the work way more than I love my comfort zone. So,
and one thing is, I don't think people pay as much attention to it as what
I think
they do.
100%. I agree with that.
Yeah. People are just
like they're more focused on them.
Now. Right. Sweet.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm probably always going to be the type of person who reinvents myself when it feels ready.
So because you're going into so many new things at the moment and you're re-exploring, how do you balance the hustle kind of more work with the life that you've created? Because I know, especially when you're in establishment mode, and you're so excited and inspired by it, you can fall into just going me, and just working your little heart out. How do you have rules around that? Do you have parameters around it, or do you just do what you feel? How do you work with that?
So I really try to just follow my energy, especially given that I'm a manifestor in human design. My energy ebbs and flows similar to you, right? And so right now I'm coming out of a massive surge where I just had all the energy to go beast mode, which served me so beautifully because it allowed me to get my work out there. I've built like a decently, well, it's not like a huge body of work yet. I mean, I'm 6 months in. So
funny and entertaining when you're on Instagram and you're in that mode, because you're like, for people that don't follow Jill on social media, she'll like start it off and she's like, I'm in beast mode. She's just like, go for it. Like you actually say that and you are.
Yeah. I am. I was in a huge creative surge. It was just like, I finally just allowed myself to be who I wanted to be. And because of that, I just had this wave of ideas and like output, and that served me so beautifully. And also I can tell that I'm coming into a season of like, okay, now I want to like reel it in and find a flow and get into a rhythm with this so that I can really start to build the business to where I know it could be. And so again, just kind of like going back to that kind of like offer flow process that I had talked about, like low ticket into medium into high. It's just now about me dialing that in for myself and being able to stay creative with the front end things and then just get more and more women into my world, activate the shit out of them and just help them move into their next level of success and power.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, because it's a problem that, I've struggled with in the past.
I am a manifestor conditioned as a generator.
Well, see, I'm a projector conditioned as a manifestor, I would say, or a generator, or probably all of them.
You would be I would say that you're a projector generated as a a projector generated, fucking hell, Jill. A projector who is conditioned to be a generator as well.
Yes. Yes.
And all my boys, like my husband's an MG, my son's a generator. So I do feed off their energy. And now also off the back of a 6-month surge, I'm like, okay, time for a rest cycle to like refine.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. So with so many people creating online courses, like it is a lot more now than when we got started in it. You got started way before I did. And even when I started in 2017, it was a lot quieter than it is now. What's your advice to people to differentiate yourself in a way that can attract the right audience and can make people want to buy from you when you can see like so many examples of people going, oh, they kind of like me, like they kind of like this?
A couple of things. Number one is always working on your power and your magnetism and that frequency that you were talking about. You know, that is going to be the thing that makes people perk up and pay attention. Always, like always. It's always you, especially if you have a personal brand, it's always you and your energy and your magnetism and your frequency. Even if you're not showing up live all the time, still in the like stuff that you put out there, I feel like people can feel and sense that, right? They read your frequency before they ever read your words. And so numero uno, I think it is that always, like you always, I think identity is like 80% of the game. My husband just brought me a plate of bacon. Because he loves me that much.
What every woman needs mid-podcast.
It's so Canadian. Like I'm Canadian. And so number one, frequency. And then the second thing I think that is so key to start mastering, and this is my own focus right now, so I think maybe this is just top of mind for me, is like specific messaging. I really think that we're coming into a time where you just have to hone that in. And we're coming into a time of more like specificity versus generalists. And so that looks like really honing in how you can specifically help people. Like what are the key pillars that you want to be known for? I mean, when we were all coming up, like in the teens, like 2016 or whatnot, or 2015 or whenever anyone came in, really before 2020 is like B-School was all the rage, right? And so that was like a very generalist kind of business program. And so not saying that Marie's like outdated by any means or irrelevant. She's always like one of the Beyoncés of this space.
Yes, right.
But also like that program, if you're coming out of the gate new, I don't think you can come into the space with something like that anymore. Yeah. You have to hit specific pain points. And so for me, I'm always trying to pull at people's desires and then agitate where they are versus where they want to be. So that's what I'm focusing on right now. And I think with Screw the 9 to 5, we got a lot of things really right. And I think for this iteration of my brand, it's just, I'm in the rebuild. Like I'm 6 months in, you know what I mean? And so I'm still trying to find my feet. And so it's actually, I was talking about this with, I can't remember who, but we were talking about how different it is when you try to build your second business. Because you think it's going to be exactly like the first one, especially if it was like,
well, it's so much better.
Ish. But it's like you have crazy expectations. You're like, well, I should be here now. And that is like one of the most frustrating thoughts I think you can get into. Like that thought pattern is, I should be further ahead. It should be easier than this. It should be bigger by now. And that is the mental trap that I think you really have to watch when you are starting something.
Yeah, completely.
Is thinking that you should be anywhere than you are. Anywhere else rather than where you are.
Similar things. So like we started a new business last November called Course Quickies, which is a template
site.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not built with personal brand. So I've never actually built a business not with personal brand ever. And so it's been a whole new experience for me. And I go through the exact same thing, like the amount of effort, energy, and everything that goes into it. We're making about $5,000 a month. And I'm like, that is not enough. Like for what we're putting in, like that's not okay. Like what do we need to do to get it up there? And it's like, I know for a lot of businesses that have just come out of the gate with no personal brand from scratch, like that's not bad. You know, that's pretty good. Yeah. Like let's keep working on that. But yeah, you have these expectations of going, well, that's not worth my time if I'm not doing that.
Yeah. And I honestly think we're coming to a time where presence is just so key. Especially with so many things being automated, I really think people are going to crave connection and resonance.
Massively.
I think that is such a biggie. And not just like, yes, connection and community, but resonance. Yeah. Like someone vibing with you, being like, that's her for me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like being the one to do your thing in your space for the people you want to serve. And I also would say for anyone coming into this space who wants to start something new and this is my own edge that I'm also on, or that I've been navigating for myself, is like really only speaking to the ones who want to move. It's like, I'm no longer concerned with people who are like, I just don't know it's for me. And I'm like, cool, then it probably isn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I learned this, this lesson with Screw the 9 to 5. Like I can't believe in you more than you believe in you.
Yeah.
Because then I'm going to need to convince you to do the fucking work versus someone who is self-led or self-motivated. And so I'm no longer concerned with the people who either sit in the same excuses or sit in the same thought patterns or need convincing. I'm not here to do any kind of convincing anymore. I'm just here to embody conviction. And if you want to join me, then I would love to have you. But I am no longer obsessing over who's joining, like who asked for the link and is not joining. You know what I mean? Like who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Focus on the people who are joining.
Yes.
That's my main.
Yeah.
If I could say to people who are coming into the spaces, like focus on the ones who do move.
It makes it so much more fun and enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it
then also
increases
like
retention as well.
Exactly. And also it's like, it just calls more of those people in because you're hyper focused on who is a yes.
Yeah.
And then it's just about, in my eyes at least, finding new ways to improve your buying experience and keep those people moving throughout your business. It's like, okay, well, once you've done this thing, now let's go on this journey together, right? So like, for example, as I was saying to you, her first million. Well, then my other thing after that is like, so her first million runs on a framework of identity, offer, sales. Well, what do you need after you've cracked that? You need capacity, because you have like 4 bottlenecks in your business, really, which is like your own personal identity, leads, sales, and then capacity. And you're always going to run into a new version of that bottleneck at every stage of growth. And so then it's like, well, of course, once we hit this, then this happens. And then once this happens, this happens. And so just having different ways for people to move through your world and keep your existing customers continuing to move with you, I think is such a key thing to also experience or also focus on.
I love that. So on launches, because so many of us have a love-hate relationship with launches.
Mm-hmm.
I personally love launching, but I have realized I am in the minority. So you're probably in the minority as well. But with some people having massive wins and others fall flat, and even our own launches, you know, some do better than others. What do you think is one underrated strategy that can make a launch massively successful at the moment?
Charging an entry ticket, like doing a paid launch. I am such a hardcore believer in this. People pay attention when they pay money. And it's just like, if I honestly think people don't like launches because they think it has to be so much harder and bigger and more like high maintenance than it actually needs to be. And also when you run a launch-based business, I think people are thinking I run 2 a year and that's like my only chances to make money. So I think that's where it gets real sticky for people, is thinking that they have 2 shots over the whole year.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so then it's a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
And so then if like registration isn't going well, you're like, oh my God. So now I really have to ace it. And now my pitch needs to be flawless. And if people don't move, oh my God, what happens if people don't join? What happens if this one doesn't make money? And it's just this like downward spiral of like anxiety and what ifs. And so a key thing that I think is important there is like, I'll do tactical and then I'll do energetic. So bring me back to the energetic of so what? Okay. Tactical is really starting to make your launch a paid experience. I personally, Josh and I started doing this in Screw the 9 to 5 in 2020, and it changed everything. I know that sounds like such a big statement to say, but it really did. I think before that we had a list of like, I don't know, maybe customers, like maybe 2,500 over from 2013 to 2020, maybe like 2,500 customers or so, because we sold a lot of low ticket stuff and our membership and stuff. From 2020 to 2023, I think that customer list was like, well over 10,000, because all we did was just focus on customer acquisition. That's it. And so everything we did now had a price tag, and not just like a crazy high price tag, like $30. Just a price tag, just an investment that shifts the relationship from subscriber or follower to customer. That's it. It wasn't to make money on the front, nothing like that. It's to help with your ad spend and simply to shift that relationship so that because a customer is a customer is a customer. And so if they have a good experience inside a paid launch experience, they are more likely to go on and join the back end, especially if you dial it in well. And so I've seen this just in so many different cases, obviously with our stuff and then with previous clients that we've supported. I'm currently helping a girl who's who's a speech therapist who helps families with late talkers. And she's got like over 1 million followers and has never done a paid launch. And I was like, you're never going to go back.
Yeah. I do think if you've got big audience and if you're doing ad spend, it can work beautifully. When I tested mine on warm audience, I had better results for free than paid. But I think with colder audiences, better on paid than free.
And I think there is a certain way to structure it. So like there has to be like a process for it. It's not just like, what do I want to talk about? Let's slap a ticket on it. You know what I mean? Like it has to be so specific.
Yeah.
And also it really has to knock down the first domino of someone being able to say yes to the back end.
Yeah. Yes.
And also it's like, just because one experience didn't go well doesn't mean it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's just your opportunity to be like, okay, what went wrong? It's like maybe the ads weren't clicking. Like if your conversion or if your click-through rate is below a certain metric, it's the ad. If your sales page is below a certain metric, it's a sales page, which is probably a messaging thing. And so you can look at that, right? So, okay, here's what it did do. Here's the conversion rate off the back end. How could I make this better?
Yeah.
And I've only ever seen that to work. I mean, we've helped so many clients in so many different random spaces. Like, yes, business, of course, but then also with late talkers. And then this is the most hyper specific one. This is going to sound so ridiculous. And most people will be like, nah, you can't do a paid launch in this space. Fly fishing in the northwest part of North America in rivers and still what, like it was like so specific. And this dude sold like, he did his first ever 40G launch.
Nice.
For fly fishing in still lakes and rivers in northwestern North America. I was just like, what?
I mean, I can see how that would be a winner. Yeah. I don't think it'd be that much of a small audience.
Well, it is, but
is it?
It is so specific that people are like, yes, please.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Which is kind of goes back to what we were saying before is like, I think one of the things that is emerging right now is like specificity.
Yeah.
Like you have to understand people's specific desires and their pain points and speak directly to that. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the energetics piece. Yeah. And so then, thank you. And so for the energetics of it is like when you're in the spiral of like, oh my God, what if this doesn't work? Or what if people don't buy? Or why didn't I get more people in? What I love doing when you find yourself in that what if spiral is simply switch it to like, so what? So what if people don't buy? Like, so what if it's lower than what I expected?
Yeah.
So what if it doesn't work the way I wanted it to? Because then you're like, okay, yeah. Okay. So what if that happens? What will I do about it?
Yeah.
Like it puts you back in the driver's seat versus you at the mercy of external results that you cannot control.
Yeah.
You can't control if someone buys or not. That's their job. Their job is to buy. Your job is to give them the best experience that you can give them and only focus on the things you can control. And so when you put a so in front of that what if, so what if it, instead of like, what if?
Yeah.
That gets you back in your power and out of your fear. It gets you out of the spiral and then you can get back into like, okay, what decisions could I make? What moves could I make? Like, let's look at this. Like, where are my opportunities? Especially if you are running a live launch model. And then the final thing I'll say to that is I personally love a mix of evergreen and live launch.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I don't want to be fully reliant on one thing working.
Feast or famine. Yeah. And like
it's
you said, like
much.
the stakes are just too high.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Like it's so easy to create offers right now and be creative with it and in the moment with it and like really direct in how you sell them and what they're for.
Yeah.
And like you can think about it. Like if you have an audience that's, I don't know, like 10,000 people and you drop an audio series program, which is, I personally love creating audio programs because they're easy to consume and they're just like,
imagine you
it's
doing
different.
that, Jill.
I know. Imagine. And so I personally love them. So you drop something like that to a warm audience of 10,000 people for what? I don't know, between $100 and $200. Like you can start to crank those out in a few days and still make them high impact, high value, but they're easy yeses for people. And then they get to consume more of your work, get into your world more, get themselves immersed more. You increase their buy-in frequency, their LTV. Like there's so many good things that come from that. And then you do like a launch to it or to your like power base, like your email list. Boom. I don't know how many you're going to pick up, maybe 1,000 people or something, 1,500 off something like that. It's easy yeses, easy money, zero fulfillment on your end outside of that one like low ticket intro offer that feels creative and fun to create. And so I love a mix of all of it. I want to do basically my rule is I'm going to do whatever the F I want to.
I mean, it's a good rule. It's a good rule. So on the note of sales, because I see so many women especially struggle with sales because they don't want to come off as pushy or salesy. How do you teach people to sell and present confidently without feeling sleazy or fake?
So I think when people are in their heads about that, they're focused on the ones who don't want it. Because the ones who want it aren't thinking they're too salesy and desperate. They're just like,
make it easy for me
this
to
sounds
buy.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, zing, I'm in. End of story. Like that really is how as simple as it, or it can be that simple. When you are thinking like, oh, I don't want people to think I'm being salesy or desperate or pushy or annoying or inconvenient or anything, insert any label here that you are projecting onto them that they are going to think about you. You are focused on the people who are never going to be a yes anyways. And then going back to hyper focusing on the people who are a yes, it's like, put your focus on the people who are a yes and take it off the ones who are never going to move and are just going to project their own self limits onto you because you agitate something in them that they won't give to themselves. The courage to sell hard. And so anyone who's saying, man, you're too salesy, man, you're too desperate, you're too this and that, I'm like, that's a reflection of how you think about
and I mean,
sales.
no one ever tells you that out loud anyway.
Or they say it in their in your comments or like they chirp you in DMs, but it's just like, okay, delete.
Yeah.
Like, all right, thanks for sharing. Peace. Yeah. Don't join then. Like, I wouldn't want you in my world anyways.
Like, your launches are intense. You really go for it. I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah. I leave it all on the field.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't I? I worked this hard in the lead up to it.
Yeah.
You think I'm just going to phone it in?
Yeah, totally. So I think that's a good thing to embrace. Yeah. Now you talk about vibes a lot and money vibes and the energy of wealth creation. What are some of the money mindset shifts that you think that entrepreneurs can use to break past like this ceiling of where they currently are or their financial limitations that they may hold?
Well, I think first you have to understand your current beliefs around money. Like, I think that's always step one because you can't change what you don't acknowledge. That's a Dr. Philism, PS, from like the early 2000s. He always said, you can't change what you don't acknowledge.
Yeah.
And so really understanding, like, what do you believe about money at your next level? Like, do you believe money is hard to make? Or that you have to do more in order to make more, or that it has to be like this hard process, or you have to have a huge team? Like, start to pull out what you believe to be true about your ability to make the next level of money. And second is like, how are you pedestaling that? I think is a big one. Is like, what do you think will be different when this is in place? And so then really acknowledging that for yourself. And so doing the work to spot that in the moment, like really become hyper aware of those beliefs at play, driving certain decisions in the present moment. And then the third piece is deciding, like, really doing future self work here. And like me at my highest and brightest, like, what does she believe about money? Like, truly, like, how does she carry herself? What are some of her core virtues that she operates by? And so if she is the type of person who trusts herself deeply, and so she knows she can handle any level of discomfort that she feels, it's like, okay, cool. So she values pursuing discomfort in service of growth. And so then you could be like, you can snap that into your current and be like, actually, So all I have to do right now is lean into the discomfort that I feel, because that's exactly what she would do. She just wouldn't make it so fucking dramatic.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like, oh my God, should I do this? She'd be like, yeah, man, I've got this.
Yeah.
Like, she would be so neutral, because she's like, the problems she's solving over here are a whole other ballgame compared to the tiny emotions you're stewing in. Not tiny, I don't want to say that, but like the highly volatile emotions that you're stewing in around scarcity and what ifs and like, who am I? And all of the, can it be this good? And all of that stuff, like the success limit of like, can it be this good? Can it feel this easy? Can I be this powerful? Can I be this rich? Can I be this happy? You know, I think so often we're just like, calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
For women who have it all. It's like, calm down. That's too much for us. Versus like allowing yourself to be as big as you want and like doing the work that comes with that. And so I think that starts with current beliefs, identifying that so you can catch them in the moment. And I think it, also the second step of that is figuring out what she would believe and how she carries herself and the virtues she runs her life by. So courage, integrity, I imagine authenticity, pursuing discomfort in service of growth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's certain things that she would operate by. And so then the point of that is to bring that into the present and start making those decisions and moving like that now.
Mm-hmm.
Like managing your emotions in that capacity now. Making the moves that feel slightly intimidating, but you know would be like no big deal to her now.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you can really start to make that future self work, bring it into the present, everything starts to slowly but surely fall away because you're so focused on who you want to be.
Mm.
And that is the vision that carries you forward. So you don't get so caught up in the day-to-day, moment-to-moment emotions and volatility of running a business right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is hard at the start. Like
for sure.
It's a journey for everybody listening. It's a journey.
I would say it's a new level of hard at every level. It's just you handle it better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it doesn't get easier. You just get better. You have more experience with it. So you have like more emotional fitness around it.
I think you get better, but I do think it gets easier as well because
well, especially once you're in a rhythm.
Yeah. You trust more. You know what you're doing more. You don't have to trial and error as much, which means you're not going on the roller coaster all the time. Like you get more money, which makes it easier. Like everything does get a little easier, which, thank goodness. Right.
Yeah. And also at new levels, you're going to have new layers of challenges. You know, it's like, how do I manage all this money that I have? You know, and like, what do I do with this insanely large tax bill? And what do I do with this disgruntled employee? And, you know, just different levels of things. But again, it just, that's what develops your character.
Yeah, that's it. So looking back on the journey that you've had, what is the one lesson that you had to learn over and over again that you wish you'd gotten sooner?
There's like tactical and then there's energetic, of course. The energetic one, this is going to sound a bit cocky, but I'm just going to say it because I really do wish it was always me. But I just hid it for so long and I tampered it down for so long.
Yeah.
Because I was at the mercy of my own fears and self-doubt and all the stuff I had with women in my past. And so I let fear of judgment control me versus doing the work to strip that away earlier and realizing it was always me. Like I know I was meant to be big. And so it's just taken me, I want to say like longer than I wish it had, but also I just don't know if I'd be here with this level of wisdom if I hadn't done it this way. And so like, do I wish I figured it out earlier? Yes, of course. And also, I'm so happy with the stuff that I've gone through and navigated in order to get me to this place because my standards are higher, my wisdom is deeper, my skills are strong, like my boundaries are strong. You know what I mean? Like I charge more now. I believe in my value more. I believe in my worth more. I'm a better communicator now. I'm more in charge of my emotions now. And then on the strategy side is I wish I had learned the whole customer first model like way earlier to just build a audience of customers. Because I mean, we had free groups topping over 50,000 people. You know what I mean? And so that was a lot of people always wanting a lot of things for free. And in my experience, a lot of freebie seekers are needy.
Yeah.
And they expect the world for free. And that was just deeply dissatisfying to me, and I didn't have boundaries at that time. So I just like bent over backwards and contorted myself in the hopes that it would like quote unquote work.
Yeah.
But if I had just learned to go customer first
Yeah.
earlier on, I feel like it would have like really changed the game for us. But again, so happy I learned it now, because that is just such an ace up my sleeve.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. My last question that I ask everybody is, what does success look like for you in your life?
Doing whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want, with whoever I want, from wherever I want. Yeah. True manifestor freedom.
Yes.
And like a lot of mental white space, a lot of calendar white space, a lot of time being present and connecting with my kid, a lot of time being present and connected with my husband, and like doing getaways for just us and really prioritizing that with us. And then also like pouring into my son, and then doing, I'm like, and this, and this, and this.
All of it. I want it all.
Yeah. One of the big ones is really having intentional time with girlfriends who are expanders and really light me up and feel safe and nourishing to be around. So I'm fortunate to have a really good crew of that. And so just really pouring into that as well.
You're amazing. I have loved to see you in
and also a stacked portfolio.
Yes. Don't forget that one.
Stocked crypto cash for sure.
I have, like, the last few years, I feel like I've had a good front row seat to the Jill Stanton unleashing on the world from the very first MGC. And like every year you've just got more emboldened with who you are, which is such a beautiful thing to see. I am so glad that you're fully unleashed out there in the world, especially last year when you did the, I can't remember what you called it, but you dropped like your recorded, it wasn't like the tapes, it was
tapes.
Yeah, but you know what I mean?
80s baby for sure.
Yeah, I was like, Jill Stanton tapes. Like, let's get them.
Cassette tapes.
But it was basically Jill giving everyone pep talks. Was that what it was?
Yeah.
And that was my first one where I was like, this is her. Like, this is, you've got it dialed in there. So it's so good to see. I love seeing you guys. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
I'm so happy you have me here. Thank you so much. I love you so much.
Love you.